You know, when you really think about it, it's just a shiny yellow rock. And yet, for 5,000 years, we have built entire civilizations for it and then torn them right back down. We've worshipped it like a god and killed for it like a currency. So today, we're going to dig into why this one metal has such a powerful and often deadly hold on all of us.
So that's the big question, right? It can't feed you, it can't keep you warm at night. So why on earth have we built and destroyed entire civilizations for it? What is it that gives this specific metal its incredible enduring power over humanity? Well, our story doesn't start with money. It starts with something much, much more powerful: religion. To really understand gold's grip on us, we've got to travel way back, about 5,000 years, to ancient Egypt. That's where this whole obsession truly began.
See, for the ancient Egyptians, gold wasn't just valuable, it was divine. They believed it was the literal skin of their sun god, Ra. When King Tut's tomb was finally opened, his coffin alone was made of 242 pounds of solid gold. I mean, that's how you bury a teenager when you believe he's part god.
But, to get from flesh of the gods to actual currency, something needs to have some very specific qualities. Think about it. Money has to be rare, right? Otherwise, it's worthless. It has to be durable. It can't just rust away. It's got to be easy to recognize, easy to divide, and easy to carry around. And, as it turns out, gold just happens to tick every single one of those boxes perfectly. For hundreds of years, trading with just random chunks of gold was, well, a huge pain. You had to weigh it and test its purity for every single little transaction. But then, around 600 BC, the Lydians, in what's now modern-day Turkey, came up with an absolutely revolutionary idea. The problem was simple. Weighing out gold dust every time you wanted to buy something was slow and inefficient. Their idea was pure genius. What if we create standardized pieces that everyone agrees are worth the same amount? The solution? Stamp the king's face on a gold disc. That stamp was a guarantee of its weight and its purity. And boom, just like that, the coin was born and the world of commerce was changed forever. Of course, the minute you create a system of trust, somebody's going to try to cheat it. Counterfeiting started almost right away. But the Lydians took this new money very, very seriously. The punishment for getting caught making fakes? They would cut off your hands. Yeah. So now, with a reliable form of money, empires could suddenly fund massive armies, build incredible cities, and expand like never before. Gold became the fuel for human ambition. But as we're about to see, it also planted the seeds of their own destruction. Just take the Romans, for example. They paid their legendary legions in gold coins. But as the empire got bigger and bigger, the gold mines just couldn't keep up. So what was their solution? Something called debasement. They started secretly mixing cheaper metals into their gold coins. It was basically the ancient world's version of printing money. And just like today, it led to the exact same result: runaway inflation that destroyed people's savings. Okay, now let's fast forward 1,000 years or so, and you get one of the most dramatic cultural clashes in all of history, and it's all centered on gold. In the Americas, you had civilizations like the Aztecs and the Incas. To them, gold was this sacred material for art, a way to tell the stories of their gods and their ancestors. And then the Spanish conquistadors arrived. For them, it was nothing more than a raw material to fund an empire. And nothing, I mean nothing, captures that clash of worldviews more than this one chilling command: melt them down, boys. When faced with absolutely irreplaceable, sacred works of art, the Spanish saw only raw material. They melted it all down into generic bars to be shipped back to Europe. It was a cultural catastrophe, all driven by pure greed. This lust for gold wasn't just for empires. It infected ordinary people, too. When gold was discovered in California, it sparked a global mania. Over 300,000 49ers dropped everything they were doing to chase this dream of instant wealth. But for the vast, vast majority, the reality was just mud, disease, and bitter, bitter disappointment. So who actually got rich? It wasn't the miners. It was clever entrepreneurs like Sam Brannan. He ran around buying up every shovel he could find and then sold them at insane prices to all the desperate prospectors. He became California's first millionaire without ever touching a gold pan. It's the classic lesson, right? During a gold rush, sell shovels. So after centuries of this chaotic cycle of greed and mania, the world really started to crave some stability. And so, in the 19th century, the major economic powers of the day tried to tame gold's wild nature and build a formal global system around it.
The idea behind the gold standard was actually pretty simple, but it was profound. Your paper money, whether it was a dollar or a pound, was basically just a claim check, a receipt for a fixed amount of physical gold that was sitting in a vault somewhere. This put a hard limit on governments. They couldn't just print money out of thin air because they had to have the gold to back it up. But the system was fragile. World War I forced countries to abandon it so they could print money to pay for the war. Then, during the Great Depression, FDR actually made it illegal for U.S. citizens to own gold to give the government more control. After World War II, the system was rebuilt at a conference called Bretton Woods, but with a critical change. Now, all world currencies were pegged to the U.S. dollar, and the dollar alone was pegged to gold.
For a few decades, that system actually worked pretty well. The whole world trusted that the U.S. had enough gold in its vaults to back all the dollars it was creating. But that trust was about to be broken on a single day that completely rewrote the rules of money forever.
And there it is. On August 15, 1971, President Nixon went on television and announced that the U.S. would no longer honor its promise to exchange dollars for gold. He called it a temporary measure. It wasn't. In that single moment, the 5,000-year link between money and a physical object was just severed. What happened next was absolutely explosive. With its tie to the dollar completely broken, the price of gold, which had been fixed for decades, was finally allowed to trade freely on the market. It soared over 2,400% in less than 10 years. The market was sending a crystal-clear signal. It had lost faith in the promise of paper money.
And that brings us to the modern era. For the very first time in history, all of the world's money is what's known as fiat currency. It's backed by nothing but a government's promise. We're all living in a massive global monetary experiment, and the results, well, they're still coming in.
To understand the sheer scale of this new experiment, just consider this. In response to the 2020 pandemic, the U.S. government created $6 trillion new dollars in just 2 years. 40% of all U.S. dollars that had ever existed were created in that short period. That's an action that would have been completely impossible under a gold standard. And here is the great irony in all of this. While governments are printing paper money on a scale never seen before, what are their own central banks doing? They are quietly buying massive amounts of physical gold. China, Russia, India, they're all hedging their bets, stockpiling the one asset that you can't just print into existence. Which leaves us with this powerful quote from over a century ago. It suggests that our entire global financial system is built on a web of promises, or credit, and that gold remains the ultimate form of money, completely independent of any government or any bank. After 5,000 years, the fundamental question remains: in a world full of promises, what holds real, enduring value?